Amen.
Number 4. The fourth stage in Moses' life, that he becomes an empowering leader. Eventually, especially if you're really into what you're doing, it doesn't seem like work. When you hated a job, I remember I was a dishwasher. I was a dishwasher, and I hated my job. I hated being a dishwasher. And we would start at 9, and I would work like 5 hours. Look at the clock; it was 9:10. It was like it was forever. But have you ever really loved something, a day that you're something that you do in the ministry, and you're like, it's 9 in the morning, and all of a sudden you look again and it's 10 at night. This is harder for the ones of you who really love pastoring. Like, you can go all day, every day. And it's going to be easier for you, connecting back to point number 1, to do it yourself because you can do it better. It takes patience, and it requires patience in working with volunteers. Ministry is messy. Not everybody's going to come through, but it takes a while until you let it go of your hand and develop the people around you. An empowering leader surrounds themselves with people who are strong in the area you are not. And notice, you're not strong in every area. You have to know what you know, and then you have to know what you don't know, and then you have to know that other people know what you don't know and can help you in the areas that you're weak in. I am more of a visionary. I see the end product. My wife is very detail-oriented. Is anybody married to a detail-oriented person? It's so annoying. Because they think about like real stuff. They're like they care about stuff like budgets and details. It's like, what? I see the end product. I'm like, hey, Kathy, before my evangelistic series, we're gonna do like a marriage weekend, and I wanna record it, and I'm gonna do, and I just tell her my idea, and then she starts asking like, okay, so when are we gonna do this? Because the calendar's pretty full, and who's gonna help us? And by the time I end with the conversation with her, my head is hurting because I don't think about any of that stuff. All I think about is getting up and doing what I'm good at. I'm a good communicator. I like to write. Those are my passions. I am not good at sitting down and being in committees. I try to avoid committees. Like, I get sick every time. I have several maladies that I pull out every time I have to be in a committee, so I don't have to show up. I get bored. I have ADD. I look at my phone. I don't contribute much. I'm sorry, some of you are like that as I'm preaching right now. You get what I'm saying. That's why I'm not giving you a hard time, because you are ADD. You're thinking about 3 steps ahead about what's happening. So I have no issue. My wife works with me. When I am leading organizational meetings with district area pastors, I have 0 problem having her chair the meetings. And I'm sitting right next to her, and I'm supportive, and she's leading, and she's saying, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to organize it, and this is the excellence that we want. And she organizes the whole meeting from beginning to end. All I do in my evangelistic series is get up and do what I do, which is communicate the gospel. And she takes care of everything else, from the moment they experience somebody getting into the parking lot to what happens in registration and the musicians, everything else she takes care of it. I have 0 problem letting her lead, even though I am the director of my department, her lead, because that's the gifting that God has given you. You have to be secure. I once went and saw a pastor in his church. I was sitting with him in his office. Somebody will come in and say, Pastor, it's 6:30. Should we open the gates? Yes, open the gates. Pastor, should we start filling up the tank? Yes, fill the tank. Pastor, should we open the doors? People are outside. Yes. Pastor, should we start the song service? And I'm like, what would happen if this pastor all of a sudden had a heart attack and fell dead? Nobody would know what to do. They'll be like, what's going on? That's why it's grown. You will grow your church like that until you can give, and you will probably burn out in the way. Because you're carrying it by yourself versus being empowering. This is what is a phrase that Moses' father-in-law tells him. I'm going to put it right here. Okay? What you are doing is not good. I wonder how much of our personal egos is tied into ministry success. We don't want to share it because it's going to make us look less than. I told you that my first pastoral assignment, we took no days off. But that year we baptized 130 people. It was great. No days off. Then I had my own church, baptized 100 people. And I felt affirmed and good. And people were like, man, the church is growing. And I was taking no days off. My wife felt neglected. I wasn't going to my kids' games. I wasn't present in my house because church is the only place where people will suck all the blood out of you and then criticize you for looking pale, right? Because when your marriage does fall apart, they're gonna, man, I can't believe he took his marriage. Nobody is ever going to tell you take a break. Let somebody else do it. And people would gladly step aside. And God, 10 years in, it took me 10 years. I'm hard-headed. I'm done. It took me 10 years to understand it. And just like I'm standing here today, I stood in front of my church and I said, from now on, I need to take time off. Every Monday is going to be my day off. Don't die. Don't get divorced on Mondays. Don't get arrested on Monday. Don't come visit me on Mondays. Monday's my day off. I'm going to have a date with my wife on Thursdays. I'm going to have dinner with my kids. It's amazing what starts to happening when I step back. Now, it might be that for a little season, because they're so used to you doing everything, that some things are going to fall through the crack. Let it. Great friend of mine, he planted a church. Small church. We need everybody. The sound system people told them on Monday, we're not going to be here Sabbath because we have a retreat that we want to go to. And he said, well, if you're not going to be here Sabbath, you have to find somebody to man the sound system. And they said, no, that's your job. He said, no, that's your job. So you find a replacement. It's like, well, I don't think we can. We won't have sound. So they thought he was bluffing. And Sabbath came, and there was no sound, and no audio visual. And he preached without a mic, and people sang without any type of, everything was acoustic. There was nothing connected. There were no PowerPoints. That's the last time, that church has 7 years. It's the last time it's ever had a Sabbath without sound system. My inclination would have been to just try to fix something last minute so we will have something less than ideal, but at least we'll have something on the screen. But that you taught the people that you can just be derelict in your duties and somebody else is going to take over. Empower them. Right. There are people in your congregation right now, even if it's small, even if it's dysfunctional, there's people in your congregation right now that could be empowering, but it's a long process and it's a messy process. But remember, we're only one link in the chain. And then the last one. It becomes a triumphant leader. Deuteronomy 34:7, this is how I want to go out. Moses was 120 years old when he died, and his eyesight was clear, and he was strong as ever. So this is what I want to talk to the ones who are on the tail end of your ministry. Accomplish your mission and leave something for the next leader to do. And some of you who are in transition, when you leave your church, leave your church. Amen. Don't go back. Be strategically unavailable. Stop asking, how's the new pastor doing? Stop giving listening ears to people complaining about what's happening there now. Not your church anymore. Move on. I had a friend of mine who went to visit some members, and the ex-pastor was in the member's house having dinner with them. Like, why would you do that? Another pastor retired, stayed in his church, part of the board and search committee for the new pastor. Like, why would you do that? We had to implement in our conference a policy that says that when you retire, you cannot retire in the church you were last pastoring in. We had to implement a policy because somebody thought to himself, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to make the life of the new pastor. I was there for 11 years. I'm going to make the new life of the pastor that is coming a living hell because I'm going to criticize everything he or she does. When you leave your church, leave your church. One of the great and important texts in this passage is, "And Moses, my servant, died." Your life is going, your ministry assignment is going to conclude. Move on. Let the new person do what they need to do. God bless you. Take a 10-minute break, and then I'll explain to you what these books are about and how to use them in your church before we have our next presentation.